And this is something that completely changed my life.
Mel, straight off the bat, can you please share your number one piece of advice if a new client was to walk in, her hormones are all over the place, her emotions are all over the place, you haven't been able to send her for bloods or get more specific information yet to know what's going on? What is the one tool that you would suggest is safe for pretty much anyone that would make the biggest impact?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love this question. I think the first thing I would want to share is the philosophy of vitalism. And this is something that completely changed my life. And it goes something like this, that our bodies have an innate intelligence, and given the right tools and resources and environment, we can adapt, heal and thrive. And then from there, there's no one magic bullet solution or quick fix. There are so many things that we can do. What I found was the practice of seed cycling, particularly for women, was that missing puzzle piece for women who, like myself, were already moving our bodies. We were supporting our nervous system. We understood the value of like whole, real foods. We're doing all the things, but it didn't feel like there was still issues with like, for me, it was like cravings, hormonal migraines, mood, like my mood would I get really frustrated and irritated before my period. And so there was still things that didn't feel like it was right. And then when I implemented seed cycling, it was that missing puzzle piece. And this is what I found with my clients, but then like on a larger scale now with the seed cycle, working with thousands of women, it seems like, yeah, this beautiful ancient practice is the missing puzzle piece. So I guess it's like two things: teaching vitalism and just like giving ourselves permission to like trust our bodies, because our bodies are incredible, trust nature, and then the tools to like the actual functional things and rituals and practices that you can implement which support that.
I love that and I think that it's really beautiful to come back to that and remind ourselves of that, because I know personally when my hormones are out of balance, or if I'm going through something like I did at the end of last year, my body can feel like it's working against me, not for me. And it can feel like it's completely out of whack. It can feel like I'm living in someone else's body. Returning back to that idea that our body will actually heal itself is so beautiful, and just like such a nice reminder that nothing's wrong. It's not working against us. It's working for us, even when it feels completely out of whack. How did you come across seed cycling? How did you learn about that?
I started researching because I found this commonality with like every woman I spoke to. It was like the symptoms related back to hormones. And to be honest, I didn't know much about hormones. I'd studied functional nutrition with this beautiful philosophy of vitalism. This was like 8 to 9 years ago. So gut health was really trendy. So I was like learning about gut health and microbiome and fermented foods. And I was really focused on intuitive and mindful eating for myself. And that's something that I would share as well, and EFT, which we can talk about. But I realized like I didn't know much about hormones, and I saw that this was the missing puzzle piece, like I said, for my clients. And I just knew like if there was a hormone imbalance, we weren't going to get to the weight loss goal, the energy goal, the performance goal, or whatever we were trying to work on together. We needed to address the underlying root cause of those symptoms. And so this is where, as I started researching, I came across the book In the Flow by Elisa Vitti, and so she talks about cycle syncing. And this was the first time that I was introduced to the phases of our menstrual cycle, and the fact that as women, our hormones operate on an infradian rhythm, which is a 28-day average cycle, whereas men's hormones operate on a 24-hour cycle, and we have different nutrient requirements in the different phases of our cycle. And like this makes complete sense. I do feel like I have different cravings and different food. Like I crave carbs before my period, and I'm not really that in terms of like my appetite. When I am in my follicular phase, I'm not that hungry. And so it was all coming together in terms of what I had learned. And then as part of cycle syncing, there's the practice of seed cycling. And so this is where I started researching seed cycling. I came across Dr. Jolene Brighton's work. And so she's a hormone specialist in the US. And she was talking about how she prescribes the practice of seed cycling to help her patients with PMS, with perimenopause, getting off the pill, hormonal acne, a lot of the things that women were telling me that they were struggling with. And so the more I researched, the more it was ticking off all the boxes for me. Like, it's an intuitive practice. It's taking into account our menstrual cycle for women. It's using food as medicine. And for me, something that's really important with nutrition is like adding in rather than restricting or taking away. And so seed cycling is such a beautiful example of like adding something in that's going to help. And from there, I just started sharing it. And it was like, have you heard of seed cycling? And I would teach people how to do it. Go buy these seeds. It's really easy. Just make sure they're certified organic. We grind them up so the body can absorb the nutrients. And it was like the first person I shared seed cycling with was my sister-in-law, and she'd just come off the pill. She had hormonal acne, particularly around her chin. Her period hadn't returned, and within 3 months, her skin completely cleared and her period returned. And we were both like, wow. And I kept seeing these results.
I love that you just used that example. If someone's going off of the pill and they haven't had a period in a while, how do they use seed cycling then? Like, how are they going to know what phase they're in?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love this question. And I think this is why seed cycling was put in the woo-woo world, because for this we talk about the phases of the moon. And I know, like, as soon as I say like full moon, new moon, people kind of back away like, oh, this is all a bit woo-woo. But throughout history, women have used the moon to regulate their cycles to support fertility. We used to bleed together on a new moon, ovulate on a full moon, and as humans, but particularly women, we are cyclical. And the moon, it's no coincidence that the lunar calendar and a menstrual cycle are the same length. And so we use some of this ancient wisdom and we connect to the moon. So for seed cycling, we're having phase 1 from a new moon, phase 2 from a full moon, so 14 days, 14 days. And what this does, besides from like helping the body, particularly if like we're talking about like coming off the pill depletes nutrients and it shuts off that cyclical rhythm. So seed cycling with the nutrients in the seeds helps build up those nutrients, but also connecting to the moon helps your body reconnect with that cyclical rhythm. And what we find is after a couple months, usually it's not a quick fix, like usually takes around 3 cycles, 3 months. Of someone cycling with the moon, they'll notice their period returns. And then when we see that it's nice and regular, then like we suggest to switch over, and then they seed cycle with their own cycle, which is phase 1 menstrual phase, the first half of their cycle, and then phase 2 following ovulation.
Just touching on the moon, and I was doing an energy medicine course, which again sounds very woo-woo. But when you look at the ancient wisdom of like Chinese medicine and your meridians and everything, it makes complete sense on a physiological level. And it was 2 practitioners teaching this course. One was an energy medicine specialist, and the other was her husband, who was a clinical psychologist. So I loved it because they were taking everything from an East and West perspective, which is personally what I abide by. I don't think that there should ever be we only use this or only use that. Use the intelligence of both. And this psychologist, he explained it in such a perfectly simple way. He said, our bodies are 80% water. Look at how the ocean is affected by the moon. Like, it's so simple when you put just facts like that. Of course, we are going to be impacted by the moon when our bodies are 80% water, and you look at how the tide and water is impacted by the moon. It's just rational when you put it like that.
I have women say to me, like, once you're a moon gal, you're always a moon gal. Like, you just get it. And particularly like postmenopausal and even through perimenopause, like we suggest the moon phases as well for seed cycling, and women will come back and say, oh my gosh, Mel, like you've got me looking at the moon and I feel so much more grounded.
Yes.
And then all the benefits from the seeds, and like my skin feels brighter, my digestion feels better. But yeah, we're cyclical, and it's so beautiful to be able to reconnect with that. Like, I look at my kids, like when the moon's full, like there's nothing that
Oh.
excites them more. They're like, "Oh my god, the moon!" And I'm like it's just it brings a joy and like wonder, and it is that bringing. And this is where seed cycling I just love, because it is bringing. We have all the modern science and we have the clinical studies now, and we know the nutrient. I think that there's more nutrients and benefits than we even understand, but there is science in terms of the nutrients of the seeds. But then it is also bringing in like this cyclical wisdom. It's connecting us with our cycles, the things that we weren't even taught, and then also connecting us with nature.
So to get really specific, and just help as a guide, if a woman's coming off the pill and she's going to start, should she wait until a full moon occurs, or essentially can she start straight away with the seed cycling? Like, what's the best approach for something like that?
Yeah, I definitely always say like start straight away. So you can look up, if you are seed cycle, if your cycle's regular, then that's great. You can seed cycle with your own cycle, but don't have to wait till like day 1 of your bleed. You can start with where you're at. So if you're at day 10, you would take phase 1 for a couple of days until you ovulate, or until around day 15, and then you can switch over to phase 2. If you are going by the moon, then you can look up the lunar calendar, like it's in your weather app. We also send out like reminders with the seed cycle. We're always like, it's a new moon, it's a full moon, but you can look that up easily in your weather app. And then again, just start where you're at. So at the moment, when we're recording this, it's just been a new moon. So you could start taking phase 1 and then switch over to phase 2 on the full moon. And I understand this is why the seed cycle started, because I understand like it's a lot to learn at once. Like your menstrual cycle, the phases, what seeds to take, the moon. But and I just wanted to make it nice and easy and clear. But once you understand and do it, it just takes 1 month, it becomes really easy.
Yeah, I think that first month is probably the tricky bit, getting into the habit of it, and then it will get easier. What if someone has a semi-irregular period? So say I've been on the pill, I've been bleeding some months I don't. I think it's around this day, so I kind of have an idea of it. Am I going to throw my cycle out if I start seed cycling in line with the moon? Like, say I'm not super confident where my period's at, so I'm not sure if I should go off that. So maybe I should go off the moon, but will that then take me further away from my cycle?
Yeah, that's a great question. It won't take you further away from your cycle. The moon's a really good rhythm, and it's going to help you connect with your rhythm. So you can, you will, I'll, if it's irregular and you're not sure, I go with the moon. And what you'll often find as well is that then your cycle will sync up with the moon, this is where it does get a bit woo woo. But I know when I'm like ovulating and it's a full moon, like I can, I just feel so
It's a
powerful.
big release. Yeah.
It's awesome. You don't need that for hormone balance, but
it's a fun
yeah, I
bonus.
do suggest the moon. It's just such a beautiful rhythm. Keep tracking your cycle, and then once you see you've had a couple regular cycles, then switch over with your own menstrual cycle.
Yeah, cool.
Mm.
Do you know, for my sciencey girls that are watching this, do you know a lot about the science behind it? Like how it works with the particular seeds and how they increase or
Yeah,
decrease different levels of your
yeah,
hormones?
yeah. I love talking about this, and in
I could
fact, so
see the excitement already.
I'm like, oh yeah, let's talk about our nutrients. We actually train GP clinics now on seed cycling,
Oh, that's
and there's
amazing.
this. Yeah, it's really cool, and we and pharmacists as well, because they're starting to be interested in seed cycling because it's included in one of their training courses in Australia. So then they're coming to us going, "Tell us more," and we spend a lot
Yes.
of time looking at like the research and the science. And I wrote a book called Seeds of Sisterhood, and I went through like pulled together all the research, all the science on the individual seeds, but also seed cycling, because I realized there wasn't one place where it was kind of all really scattered. So in terms of how it works, what we know is that the nutrients in the seeds support estrogen production and elimination and progesterone. And so the
The
whole
production
concept is,
and elimination, because that's a big
yes.
problem that a lot of women have, is their bodies can't metabolize and cycle out the estrogen, and they end up being estrogen dominant, which leads to a whole bunch of disorders.
Totally. We work with over 150 practitioners now. We meet up every month, and we always ask them, like, what are you seeing in clinic? What,
Mm.
what are the functional testing telling you? And without a doubt, it's every woman is different, but they'll, they'll say to us, like, women are producing way too much estrogen. Their bodies aren't eliminating it, and then that's having that flow-on effect of not producing enough progesterone, and that's causing that imbalance that we talk about, and then that's resulting in like the PMS, the painful periods, irregular periods, the hormonal acne, the mood changes, like all those symptoms that for so long we put up with it because it's like, oh, it's just part of being a woman, but it's not. Going
Every
back to philosophy of
GP.
vitalism, like our bodies are so intelligent and they're trying to speak to us and it's not normal. And the long-term consequences of hormone imbalance, particularly that excess estrogen not producing progesterone, is there's huge health consequences and really serious health consequences. And so, this is where like my mission really is to like share this, that these symptoms are common but not normal. And there are ways that you can support your hormones naturally. And yes, there are times where there may be medical or pharmaceuticals needed, but often, often we can just by this holistic approach and understanding our cycles and knowing how to nourish our hormones, we can support them and bring them back into balance. But in terms of like the nutrients, so like phase 1, we've got flaxseed and pumpkin seed. And so flax seeds are high in lignans, which are a form of phytoestrogens. And so these work really intelligently on a cellular level. So we have like estrogen receptor plugs all over our body. And when we're having that lignin or that phytoestrogen, it acts like a plug and plugs into that receptor and tells that receptor what to do. So for, say, me, who I have high estrogen and my body's not eliminating it, it will block that production. Whereas for someone else, it will say, no, you need more. So it's just so intelligent how phytoestrogens work. And then in terms of like, there's your daily recommended dose of omega-3. There's magnesium, which is all again supporting that first half of your cycle. And then when you're having the second half, phase 2 seeds, sesame and sunflower, they're really high in vitamin E and selenium. And so this is really important for progesterone production, but also the benefits we're seeing with skin. So we work with a lot of skin clinics around Australia now, and they're teaching and sharing seed cycling with their clients, because within the first month, women say, my skin feels so bright. We're having amazing results with like hormonal acne. And this is all those beautiful nutrients, as well as the fibers in the seeds as well, which is really helping that detoxification of like, the hormones, the excess hormones.
There's so many points that you touched on there that I loved. The intelligence of our body, and that the photoreceptors will say, like, no, you've actually got enough of this, or yes, give me that. But also just the earlier when you said it's common, but it's not normal. I think that's such a powerful statement, because so many women are going through this, but it doesn't mean they should be. Yes. I actually have my sister-in-law is a beautician. What is she? A nurse? She's a registered nurse, cosmetics nurse. That's what they're called. And she says the same thing to them. If your nutrition and everything isn't going well, then there's no point injecting anything into your face, because your body won't be able to metabolize it or respond to it. But also it's just like pouring icing over a non-existent cake. Like it's not going to work. So doing these fundamentals of seed cycling and taking care of your hormones first is so important. Otherwise, we're just covering up the problem and it's never going to heal.
Yeah, totally. And then it's so exciting. Like we're in health food stores and we do a lot in the fitness industry, but like the beauty industry was really where like we were just welcomed with open arms. And like people, like we did a beauty expo a couple of years ago in Sydney, and we've done it every year since. And like it was like people coming up to us, like salon owners, like embracing us, like, we need you. And they're spending a lot of time with women. They're hearing about the concerns and they want to do the best for their clients, and they want to offer a holistic solution. And so it's just, I love it. Like, I think it's incredible that they're wanting to do that, and that seed cycling is something that they can share, because because it's just food, you know, like I'm not anti supplements and they have their place, but there's something so powerful in using food and nutrients that our bodies recognize. And like people say to me, Mel, I've got a cupboard full of supplements gathering dust. It seed cycling's work so well. I look forward to it. You've made it. And it is that practice of like honoring where you're at in your cycle as well. So this is bringing this body literacy of things that still aren't taught to teens, unfortunately. And that is that we are different to men. We are not small men and we have very different energy, exercise, nutrient requirements. And so seed cycling is your way in to understanding all this, because to seed cycle, you need to understand your own menstrual cycle or the moon phases again, which is connecting you back to nature, back to a cyclical rhythm.
I absolutely agree that this would be beautiful for teens and young women to understand. That's like when I was writing my book on hormones and trauma in the nervous system, I rewrote it about 3 times because I want it to be entertaining and engaging for a woman that's 45 to read it and pick it up and still want to flick the next page. But I needed it to be accessible for a 13-year-old girl as well to read it and understand her body, especially while she's estrogen dominant and going through all of these different feelings, because everything at the end of the day comes down to hormones. If they're out of balance, then it feels impossible to live, like genuinely, when it can feel debilitating when hormones are out of balance. So I think that's just, I'm really passionate about teaching young women what's actually happening so that they, instead of hating and forcing and trying to just like rip their body apart, they can just understand and nurture. And I think that alone would solve so many of our problems. Another thing that you touched on was supplements versus food. And I absolutely agree. Sometimes we need supplements because we can't get the dose that we require from food. But it is definitely a much more nourishing practice to like actually eat your nutrients and your minerals and be giving your body this nourishment through whole foods rather than just like popping a million different pills. I've definitely been in that place where I have just essentially a plate full of like vitamins, and it's like, I can't get through them because it's just, I then have to drink so much water to be able to take all of those tablets. And I'm like, by that point, I'm like bloated from taking tablets to try to stop my bloating. And I'm like, this
I
is
know.
ridiculous.
And also, you know, like I think about, and I do my research if I am working with the naturopath and being prescribed supplements, you know, I want to know who owns the company. What's in the supplements, and particularly now it's like what, you know, that, okay, so I've been prescribed like this supplement powder. What are the ingredients? But then what are the excipients? Because it says lemon lime flavor on it, but there's nothing on the ingredients that point to the lemon lime flavor. So then it's like I contact the company. I'm like, what are the excipients? And then you get a whole nother list of ingredients that
And
weren't
it's completely
listed.
different.
And so it's a
And then
minefield,
chemicals.
and you have to really understand. And I only understand now because I'm in the health food industry, and I've always been curious, and I always want to know, well, what's actually in this? Who makes this? Where is it made? And, you know, I'm a purist, like real food from nature. And like you said, like supplements have their place. But then also, like, if you are taking a whole, and it works for some people. My husband, he's like, he loves his supplements. He takes heaps every day. But for me, it actually causes my body to go into fight or flight. And it like, so, you know, we're all so different. Yeah, that's another conversation. I know this is about this, but like I'd love to know more about your book. I'd love to read it. Like what got you, because it's not everyone that writes a book.
No, I love that you wrote a book as well.
Well, that's why I'm like, hold on, tell me about yours.
I know I need to read yours, so we'll do a book swap. But mine was an absolute accident. I love that you just brought up, very casually dropped into conversation, taking these puts my body into fight or flight. It's amazing that you are that in tune with your body that you can recognize that. And I do want to touch on, because this is something I've been researching myself, because I've been taking a magnesium. I'll get to my book in a second. I've been taking magnesium supplements for years, a really long time, but all of the powders, a lot of the time I can go a couple of weeks sometimes and I'm good, and then they start making me feel nauseous. And most of the powders I've tried make me feel nauseous, and then then had to make it a tablet instead, which then just added another tablet to my regime. And I was like, this is getting ridiculous. So I would love to go through what some of the staple foods you have in your nourishment. I always use the word nourishment instead of diet, and that you like using very quickly on the book. It was an absolute accident. I went to write a 5-page ebook June last year, which was meant to work alongside the app, just to explain why I don't do calorie counting and I focus on nutrients instead. And then also why the app focuses on lifestyle factors rather than just food. So it's like the Flow app meets MyFitnessPal, but designed for women to regulate their hormones. I'm also incredibly mindful, coming from a professional dancer background, a category of women that I really want to help and create products for are women with nutrient deficiencies and eating disorders. And it's really heartbreaking because everything like MyFitnessPal, everything is focused around calories. And yes, calories matter. And yes, if your BMI is too high and you need to really quickly cut down your weight, like calories can help with that for sure. But that's not my demographic. I'm focusing on women healing their hormones and actually deep cellular regenerative healing. And for that, we need to be looking at nutrients and calories. Often calorie counting, it just creates stress in the body because you're always stressing about what you're eating. And then food becomes stressful because you're trying to minimize it. And that is not the experience that I want my women to have. I want them to look at food and say like, oh, this is nourishing me. Like they're logging it and they're not looking at something going up in calories. They're looking at, oh, look how much folate this has. Look how much potassium this has. Look at how much magnesium this food has. And suddenly we're rewiring the brain to look at this thing that I need to restrict as this thing that's so beautiful and nourishing me and helping me. And just that in itself is going to change the way that we metabolize food. Because if we're looking at this and we're going, I'm really stressed because I don't want to eat this because it's going to increase my calories, fight or flight straight away. You're restricting your digestion. You're going to be getting bloated. You're like creating cortisol. Look, everything is getting messed up. Whereas we look at this and we go, oh, thank you so much for this nourishment. This is so beautiful. I've put so much love into making this. It has all of these different nutrients and minerals. It's a completely different experience. Your body is rested. It's calm. It's ready to digest. It's ready to extract the nutrients from this food. And it's going to completely change your health. Just that one aspect alone of taking away calories. So I didn't even end up really talking about calories or food that much in the book, which is funny. But I sat down to write just that, like why I focus on lifestyle and regulating the nervous system alongside nutrition, which is, I know, is something that you did with your clients as well. And then I thought I'll write 1 page on the nervous system, just going and like doing a brief overview of what it is and why you should care about it. And then I got a little bit carried away and 5 pages turned into 10, turned into 20. And then suddenly I had this like 300-page book that went through methylation and the endocrine system and how the nervous system is impacted by trauma and how all of them intertwine. And I went, oh, no one wants to read this. I had to rewrite it all again with less science jargon and more personable wording. And then I rewrote it again to make it accessible for young women that are ready to learn about their body and nourish themselves instead of fighting against what's happening. So that was the book. It was an absolute accident. And that was 6 months of last year, pretty much.
Wow. Well, congratulations. Like such important information. And, you know, like when you're speaking particularly about food, I just think about like the law of attraction and where, you know, where attention goes, energy flows. And when you are focusing on like, the calories and the scarcity and that, then that's the reality you create. Whereas when you focus on like how amazing this is and how nourishing it is and how great it tastes, and then that's the environment you're creating. And I experience that myself, and I see that with clients. And that doesn't mean, you know, and then also like that accepting of this is where I'm at, this is where I am now, and this is where I want to be. But acting like that person that you want to be now, and dieting and calorie counting is just takes you so far away from that. So I'm so on board.
Yes. Speaking of dieting and nourishment, so if I want to get these other minerals you spoke about, magnesium, zinc, what are some staple foods other than your seed cycling beautiful cookies that you like to implement into your diet?
Yeah. So for me, I do very much follow my cycle. And so, like, when I'm in my menstrual phase, that's when I usually make myself a liver pate. And I know that's not for everyone, but just trying to get
Saying
in
liver
iron rich
pate,
foods. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so
how do
good. Like
you
on
make that?
sourdough. My kids love it too. So I'm lucky that I have access to a farm through my mother-in-law, so we get chicken liver through there. But the butchers have great liver
Gosh.
as well, and basically, yeah, you like fry it up. I add in like apple and cinnamon and nutmeg
Really good for your
and
gut, isn't
onion.
it?
Oh, it's just so nourishing, I find, for me, in my menstrual phase, and it does help me build up, my iron levels, and it has so many nutrients in it. But there's other ways, particularly if you're plant-based or that's not for you. I come from a Croatian background, so, this is this is our staple food. Grew up on this, like broths and meat and, fish as well. And so, I get that for some people they're like liver pate gross, but that's what really works for me in my menstrual phase. And then in my follicular phase, this is like I said before, when my appetite's not I don't have a huge appetite and I can go lower. Like I don't need as many carbs. So like for me, my follicular phase, it's really focusing on protein, healthy fats. So usually like a lot of like eggs and avocado and then like leafy greens as well. But it's great. Like I really enjoy that follicular phase because it is you can get away with more there, like, in terms of not being like spot on with your diet. Like ovulation phase, this is where like you really want to help your body detox that excess those hormones because they start to drop. So I do find like having like green smoothies and a lot of like dark leafy greens, and again like fats and proteins during that phase. And then my premenstrual luteal phase, that's where I have to focus on my nutrition, like sweet potato. I love to like soak my rice overnight and then I cook it and I cool it and then it's a beautiful probiotic. And so like I'll have more like rice dishes and salmon and focusing on proteins as well. And then like obviously like my seeds are then really giving that nutrient boost as well. But that's what I find has worked for me more than anything else. And really like I'm just having fun with it. Like, asking myself like, what do I feel like eating for breakfast? Like, what do I feel like?
Instead of
It's just like,
planning and forcing just intuitive eating, like what do I actually need and want today?
yeah, like getting excited about it. And that's not always a reality. But when I can, like, and when I find I'm in a funk, like that's when I will like go back to like, oh, like what do I really crave right now, and
Mm.
what's going to nourish me. And it is that intuitive eating.
Tell me more about soaking the rice before like soaking the rice. So
So it helps remove the naturally occurring toxins. And I don't do it all the time, but when I can, I find it's easier to digest. And then I give it a really good rinse. Same with like beans and legumes. Like I'm always soaking beans in
similar
my
to like
kitchen.
activating nuts
Yeah, yeah.
overnight because they have the reason they have that high shelf life is because of the protective whatever it is they have, which is toxic to us, right? So
Yes.
soaking them
Yeah.
essentially activates it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a
Yeah,
really
and
good.
so does grinding. So that's why we grind. We don't activate the seeds, we grind them because activating like on a large scale, you're soaking and then you're drying. So there's a chance of like mold and rancidity. So the research that we've done, and this is where like when we look at the research on seed cycling, it is the grinding of the seeds removes those phytonutrients, similar way to like soaking does.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
So I'm very mindful of time, but I cannot go past asking you what your personal story is because no one gets this knowledgeable if they've had an easy journey with health and never had to worry about it. So how
Oh
did
my
you
Well, I don't
start?
feel like I don't feel like my story is unique. Like, unfortunately, so many women struggle the way I have. And that was that in my teens and early 20s, like I was obsessed with dieting. like all I wanted in my life was to be skinny. And I tried every single diet, anything you could possibly think of, like the shakes, the lemon detox diet, the cabbage soup diet, like all the
Oh my
things.
gosh.
And all that did was create a really unhealthy relationship with food and my body and led me down this dangerous path of um, issues with, eating and binge eating. And so I got to a point where I had this thought of like, if I study nutrition, I'll learn how to lose weight. Like that was my only motive. And so I did a basic nutrition course and that was fine and learned about calories and all that. And then I came across functional nutrition and this beautiful philosophy. And one of the first subjects was culture and traditions and its role in our food choices. And this really like struck with me because again, like Croatian background, like food is life, food is how we pass on traditions. And I was going to family events and just being like, don't look at the food, try not to eat, and like just shut down that whole part of me. And so functional nutrition gave me permission to like look into my culture, to start making the Croatian cakes again, to use butter, to use nuts, to eat like back to real food. And I fell in love with food again. It really helped me shift my relationship with food and really it's no longer the enemy. But also then what happened at a similar time is that I came across EFT, so emotional freedom techniques or tapping. And that is basically a way of supporting your nervous system and you're tapping on acupressure points on your face and your body and it sends a calming signal to your amygdala, which is that stress center. And I started using the tapping whenever I would feel bad about my body, whenever I had, if I'd overeaten and felt really guilty, and for all those, I guess I didn't realize it at the time, but the limiting beliefs I had around food and my body because of that, all that dieting and the years of stressing my body and trying to be skinny. And through EFT, I realized that I had this underlying core belief of like, I need to be skinny to be loved. And of course, then I was like obsessed with losing weight. Like it makes so much sense. And I was able to release that. And now that just sounds ridiculous. But, when you have a core belief, it feels like a fact. And so through EFT and functional nutrition, I had changed my life. I lost like 15 kilos and I've kept that off ever since. And that was just through this process of, tuning back into my intuition. All the puzzle pieces came together. And that's kind of what led me to then, after I had my first baby, I was just like, well, if I can birth a baby, I can do anything. I'm going to start a business. And so that's when I decided to combine what had helped me, which was that functional nutrition and EFT. So I became an EFT practitioner and started sharing what I had learnt. And it was really like that what I think then led me to seed cycling, which may not have if I was in a different space, was that I was looking for foods that would support. I wasn't looking for supplements. At one point I was doing like smart DNA testing, but I found that what worked for my clients were these basic principles.
Keep
And
it
just
simple.
helping them remember that their bodies are incredible and using EFT. And so that's then what led me to this, like, the thought around like, there's got to be some foods that can support the hormones, and then led me to researching hormones and then seed cycling, which like for me then just, I look at like even life before understanding my cycle and life now, like, I'm busier, I run more businesses, things are like crazier than they've ever been, but I haven't burnt out. I'm more productive than ever. I feel better than ever. And that really is because now, I was able to do that personal work and those, really like let go of those core beliefs, but now working with my cycle, like it's just, it does, like you feel like you're unstoppable.
It makes
Mm.
such a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's go back. So I've studied a little bit of EFT. It's something I'm really interested in. Can you go back what you were saying about the tapping points essentially send calming signals to your amygdala, which we know is our animal brain, the little almond-sized piece. And how do you know much about what's actually happening there? Like we're tapping on our face. How is that calming our amygdala?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're tapping on these meridian points, and I
The
think
meridians,
similar
yes.
to like how seed cycling, it's like bringing that ancient wisdom and the modern science together. So is EFT. It's bringing in that Chinese medicine, but also what we know about. It's not positive affirmations. It's more the opposite. It's like knowing that when we acknowledge how we're feeling at the time, and as we're tapping, which is sending that safe signal, that we can then give ourselves space and really release what is no longer serving us. And so it's that real combination of like the tapping on the acupressure points, but then the statements that we use. So for EFT, it's a really simple process. We're using a setup statement, which is, even though I feel this way, so insert like, even though I feel really bad about myself because I just ate a heap of chocolate and it's got this many calories or whatever it was at the time, deeply and completely accept myself anyway. And just that, like, even though I feel this way, I accept myself anyway, is so calming and healing for us. And so this is what I found for myself. And even now, like, I'm working with clients over the years, but even with my kids now, just to be able to like support them through their feelings and using EFT, whether we're doing it together, or I just, to settle them down, I'll gently tap on those acupressure points. I can see how their whole body just relaxes, and it's like,
Amazing.
oh, it's beautiful. I just, and what I love about EFT now is that it is evidence-based. I think there's like over 300 studies now. So,
Mm.
but in saying that, like when I learned EFT myself, it was just off like the EFT tapping solution website. I had like read the little script, I started doing it, and I just knew it helped me. And it was like my little secret. I didn't even I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know that there was practitioners and you can actually become a practitioner. But for years, it was just something that I could do to support myself, where I didn't have to wait to see my counselor. I didn't have to wait to see my chiropractor or kinesiologist or my support team, which are all really important. But it was something I could do in the moment to help myself acknowledge where I'm at. And the result would always be that I feel better to this day.
Yeah. Our psyche loves truth. So I have a very,
Mm.
I don't love positive affirmations as a practice on its own. I think that trying to bullshit your psyche out of feeling something is like trying to talk to a fire alarm and just tell it to stop. Like, it's not going to work. And it's
Yeah,
just
I agree.
putting a band-aid on a broken arm and then sending the patient away and saying, feel better. It
I
genuinely irritates me. It's like, you're not going to out-talk your subconscious bias.
No, it's so true.
So,
I spent some time working with athletes, and they're superstitious, right? So like
yeah,
they would come to me in the fear of injury, but they don't want to admit that they fear of getting injured because of the superstition. But I'm like,
if
but
they say it,
part of tapping is actually acknowledging, because this is how you feel deep down, like you're scared of getting injured again. And so it was
mm,
just like, but if I just don't, and then what it is like what you said, like it is that acknowledgement of the truth of how we feel is so powerful. And then the actual tapping on the acupressure point on top of that and sending that signal of safety and acceptance with the words, so powerful.
yes, I definitely agree. I think that's such a beautiful tool because it's so accessible. Actually, I was walking on the beach today with a friend this morning and I saw a woman tapping and I got so happy. I do that in public as well. And I could see that she was she was a little bit apprehensive, not sure if we would judge her for doing. And so she dropped it from like both hands to just one. I was like, no, girl, keep going. Like, you do that. So I love it. It is becoming something that I see around a lot more, which is beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I remember when I first started teaching EFT, and like I would do workshops and I would say like, how many people know about EFT? And, one person would put up their hand or nobody. Whereas now, like most people in the room will put up their hands.
Mm.
And I do hope that's going to be the same with seed cycling in, a couple more years' time, that it is more well known. But I do have a story about EFT as well. So like I was driving in my car and my husband was driving, like I didn't know he was on the road as well in his car, and we were like we must have crossed each other, and I was tapping as I was driving, and then he calls me. He's like, "What are you doing? What's wrong?" And I was like, "Nothing. Why?" He's like, "I saw you tapping." I was like, "Oh no, I'm fine. I'm just overwhelmed." He's like, "Well, everyone can see you. Stop." And I was like, "Oh, I don't care."
You're like, let them.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long have you and your husband been together?
We're married 10 years, 11 years next year. Oh, 11 years. I don't know. 10 or 11 years. Maybe it was 11 years this year. No, 11 years in January. Yeah. And
How does he make
he's a huge part of the seed cycle as well. So he runs, he does all our marketing. He does all our ads. He does like all the reordering of like the stock, and
Did
he
he
knows more about hormones and periods than I think
you learn that as you built
yeah,
up the
well,
business, or was that his background already?
yeah. His background's engineering, but it was really like I was packaging the seeds for my clients, and he was the one who came and was like, "What are you up to? Why do we have like 15-kilo bags of certified organic seeds delivered to the house?" And then so I told him about it, and he was the one who was like, he went and did some research. He's like, there are thousands of people searching seed cycling and no one that's doing what you're doing in Australia. Like you're creating like a done for you solution. So he was like, let's start another business. I can't believe I didn't think of that. And so he really helped me get off the ground. And then probably like the first year, he didn't have much to do with it, but then we were just growing so fast. And, you know, I just want to help people. Whereas he's got a real business mind. And so I was just like, went to him, I'm like, I need your help. Like, I can't do it on my own. I don't want to do it on my own. And so we had this agreement. And he's like, I'll come in and help, and we'll do it together. But we can help more people if we treat this like a business. So it was like an agreement on my part that I was going to treat it like a business, and an agreement on his part that he was going to help. And, you know, he's very much taught me about valuing my time, and really like I wouldn't want to do it without him. So now we're all in, and we work very closely together, and he's a pain in the ass, but he pushes me to really, to value my time and to value my knowledge, and we're able to help so many more people and get the message out and create like incredible certified organic, like best of the best products. And yeah, it's exciting.
Amazing. How do you find it when this is like getting so off topic, but I think that relationships are fundamental in our hormonal balance, so it works. How do you find working together and being together?
I mean, it's all seed cycle, like every conversation, seed cycle. So, but you know, we love it. The biggest differences I notice is because of our hormones being so different. Like he can work the same every day, whereas I can't. Like I'm creative when I'm menstruating. I'm like all systems go when I'm in my follicular phase, ovulation. Like I'm not actually that interested. I'm just like want to love everyone and cook for my family. And then my luteal phase, I'm not as quick, and things are I'm slower and it's harder. And so it's different for me. Whereas for him, he's the same every day. He goes the same day. So noticing those differences and understanding that about each other, like that's where the communication is and the awareness more than anything. And it's, you know, it's always evolving, but I think the more we can understand each other that way, and like the better we are together.
Has
both business and relationship.
Yeah, it makes a really big difference, as he learned so much about hormones and our menstrual cycle. And
oh my gosh, he knows everything. I'm like, sometimes he'll go to like reply to a customer. He's like, oh yeah, well, if you're on day 3, you should start with phase 1 and blah, blah, blah. And then he'll be like, can you check this to make sure this is right? And I'm like, yes, you're spot on. Like he's just,
we love it.
which is cool. Yeah. He's going to kill me for telling you this.
It's okay. Secret safe with me and all the viewers. Mel, thank you so much for your time. This has been absolutely wonderful. There are so many grains of wisdom that will help so many women. Really appreciate this. I believe we are joining forces to offer all of the viewers a code for your seeds. Yes?
Yes, let's do that.
yes, then they can get on board and start seed cycling as well to help their cycles and their mood and their everything. I would also love to, I'll just pop all of your seed cycle social media, website, link to get your book, which I recommend everyone reads and learns about all of the seeds. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It was so nice chatting with you. And yeah, we'll get you all the links and everything and we can add them in. And if anyone has any questions, like please reach out to me. I love talking about hormones. I love being able to support you in your seed cycling journey.
Thank you so much, Mel. I'll speak to you soon,
Thanks.
no doubt. All right. Bye.
Bye.